Yeah, more than 2.5 million Texans have already done so, a new early voting record.
And we are just under 3 hours from polls closing. We have seen a steady turnout. This was earlier today in Garland. There you see the lines. Now, the biggest problem we've heard about today has been the confusion in Dallas County. A lot of voters turned away because they're at the wrong precinct. Voters must cast ballots at their assigned precinct, and that might not be the same place where you usually vote. So make sure you check before you leave.
To get a look at more voter turnout, let's go live to Richard Solomon. He's in Denton County. How's the turnout been there so far?
Well, yeah, Cynthia, Chris, we're in Carrollton at a public library, and this is traditionally a high volume area, and that is exactly what Denton County election officials expect will happen later on here tonight. But you mentioned that problem, and I want to address it real fast because Denton County is precinct based. That means you can only vote at polling locations assigned to your home address. So you want to make sure you're aware of that before you step out the house to head to a polling location later on this evening. But I asked folks here in Carrollton what's driving them to the polls this primary. Here's what we learned.
Very personal decision, but not very many countries have the right to vote. We do.
We need change, and we need voices and leaders that are going to make a difference. So it's just important to get out and vote and, express that.
And that enthusiasm is translating into numbers. Frank Phillips, the Denton County Elections Administrator, says turnout has already surpassed total ballots cast in the 2024 presidential primary. By the end of early voting last week, more than 115,000 ballots had already been cast. For comparison, during the entire 2024 primary election, just over 122,000 ballots were cast. Officials expect that number to climb significantly by the end of Election Day here.
Based on prior experience, I think you're going to have a certain number of polling sites that at 7 o'clock there'll be people waiting in line, and they may be there for a little bit.
So Phillips, best advice for you, if you're headed out tonight, get here as early as you can and give yourself a little bit of time. Now, speaking of long lines and lots of early voting numbers, Sean Giggy was in Collin County where voting was strong.
More than 132,000 people voted early here in Collin County, a record. And that's also why county officials expected another large turnout this morning for Election Day. Collin County was prepared for a wave, but got a trickle. A record-breaking early voting turnout signaled that Election Day could be just as busy. But when polls opened Tuesday, voters didn't have to wait long.
No, it's about 10-15 minutes. Pretty smooth, yeah.
However, shorter lines didn't mean less voters. More than 14,000 people voted before noon today.
We've seen turnout increase by 75%.
Collin County Elections Administrator Caleb Bro said more polling centers and proper preparation has prevented problems.
We knew people were going to turn out. We were not shocked by the number of people that voted this morning.
Bro said he anticipates longer lines as the day goes on, and although it makes for stressful days, it also makes him proud.
It makes me feel better that all the work that I know that myself and my staff have gone through, that people are actually showing up. So it makes you proud, really does.
And whether it's 10 minutes or 10 hours, voters say it's well worth the wait.
You have to show your voice, otherwise you can't be heard.
Voting is the way for your voice to be heard, no matter whether your candidate wins or loses.
In Collin County, I'm Sean Giggy.
Well, the most contentious race is the one for U.S. Senate.
And this afternoon, we're closely watching candidates on both the Republican and Democratic sides. U.S. Senior Senator John Cornyn running for a 5th term and fighting for his political survival, facing GOP challenger Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and U.S. Representative Wesley Hunt of Houston. On the Democratic side, 2 Democratic stars are battling for the nomination. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Dallas and State Representative James Tallarico of Austin are competing in one of the closest races statewide.
You know, now some of these races look radically different from just a few years ago. Voters are choosing a new representative from the newly drawn 33rd Congressional District. Former Representative Collin County is challenging incumbent Democrat Julie Johnson, and the solidly blue district encompasses parts of Dallas, Irving, and Grand Prairie. We're going to take a deep dive into that race at 4:30.
Right when polls close tonight, you'll want to turn on WFAA Plus for our election results special. Our political team will be live at campaigns across Texas as the results come in, and a panel of experts will break down the numbers all night long. We do it best here. Our streaming app is free to download to your TV.